What's up, boys and girls? Let's talk about drones. The sky robots that want to blow you apart. How can you, as an individual infantryman, how can you, as an individual warfighter, or perhaps a team or squad of warfighters, counter or avoid having your day ruined by the sky robots? First of all, I fought in the GWOT. I did not have to deal with a bunch of enemy drones, so perhaps everything I'm saying is not applicable. However, I do have a bunch of patrolling experience, and I have been watching this war in Ukraine closely, and I have quite a few opinions on the subject, and so today I'm going to share those with you. First and foremost, I think that there's a few factors in the Ukraine war that make it heaven for utilizing drones, and I don't think that drones will be as big of a deal in many other theaters of war. Though they will undoubtedly be a part of the war, I don't think they'll be the main weapon that they are in the Ukraine conflict. Right, okay. Primarily it's terrain. So Ukraine is just a big, flat, open area. It's a big farmland. It's a big wheat field. And what little building and woodline cover there is has been blown to shit by artillery over the last handful of years. So there is nowhere to hide. It's just a big open field, which means that's perfect for drones. There's nowhere you can go. I put a drone in the sky. I can see everybody for as far as my drone can see. There's nowhere they can go. There's nowhere they can hide. I can put a bunch of drones up and observe the entire enemy front line and any movements they have. There's no way they can mask them. I'm going to see them. That's awesome for drones. Additionally, we have tactics. Both the fact that it's Eastern Bloc countries fighting each other, so they are big into large troop movements and attempting to use armor and like frontal, almost suicidal frontal assaults into enemy defensive positions and stuff like that, which just traditionally for forever, that's how Eastern countries fight. Right, so you have large numbers of dudes that are stuck in stationary positions or doing these big, obvious frontal assaults, often with vehicles and stuff tied to it, combined with the terrain that I just talked about, means that all the troop movements, all the assaults are very open and obvious, and it's easy to utilize drones to a massive, a massive net gain for the drone operator. Lastly is equipment. Neither of these militaries are exactly third world, but neither of them are exactly first world with their equipment either. So not only are they trying to conserve bombs and artillery shells, thus they're using drones more, they also are utilizing things like soft shell vehicles and other of the such that makes stuff like a small payload drone much more useful, right? A small payload drone isn't doing shit to an M1 Abrams tank or a Bradley or anything like that. So I think that's another big reason why they're being used so heavily in Ukraine on both sides, because there's just a plethora of opportunity, both to use the drone rather than call an arty. Can't talk for shit tonight. And the target being softened and exposed to allow the drone to be highly useful. All right, cool. So that's why I think drones are such a big deal in Ukraine, right? Let's look at like Gaza and Israel. Drones are used, but not nearly as much. There's tons of fighting going on all over the world, and only in Ukraine and Russia is drone usage so heavily used, so prevalent, such a big deal that the primary killing weapon is drones over there. And that's not the case for much of the conflict globally. All right. So as an individual infantryman or team, things we can do to mitigate drones as we patrol and walk around, first of all, are just have good baseline patrolling tactics to begin with, right? We need to be utilizing good cover and concealment, which includes overhead cover, and if drones are the primary concern, that's our primary cover and concealment we're concerned about. So we want to stay up in the trees, up in the bushes, in the swamps. We want to be up inside buildings. Utilizing tunnel systems to move troops around is also going to be clutch because drones aren't going to be able to see us if we're underground. Cool, so you shouldn't be walking around out in the open field to just be seen by drones and thermals in the first place, right? These things don't have x-ray vision. Hide your ass. Next, tactics, right? We can fight in a way that makes it difficult for drones to be used, right? Drones have to have an operator. Drones have a limited amount of runtime. There's only so many drones, there's only so many drone operators, there can only be so many places at once, right? So if we have non-static positions, if we're doing lots of hit and runs, if we are utilizing maneuver warfare, then if the enemy doesn't know we're going to be there, then they're not going to have drones in the air looking for us. And then if we do our business and then we leave, it doesn't matter if the enemy has drones in the air looking for us. We're already gone, and we're not coming back to that place anytime soon, right? So if you are living in a trench or a defended position in a fighting hole, then I can just send drones to come fuck with you all day long. Or if you just assaulted me, but then I know we're going back to your fighting hole, I can send drones between here and there to pick you off while you run back to your fighting position. Right? If I don't know where the hell you're coming from or where you're going, it's a lot harder for me to put drones on you. All right. This one's clutch. Weather. Same thing goes for fixed wing or rotary wing aircraft already, right? Aircraft in general. Now we have drones to worry about additionally in the air. Bad weather, rain, snow, high winds, sandstorms, hail, stuff like that makes it really difficult or / impossible to operate drones. So if drones are a big problem you're worried about, then just go and do your major offensive operations when it's raining outside. Now you don't have to worry about drones. All right. Getting a little technical on the drones. I don't have an exact answer because I'm not a Jimmy Neutron whiz kid exactly. I'm a pretty clever guy and I'm pretty handy, but I'm not a supercomputer nerd. But I have found this information out thus far, right? Drones operate typically on 3 different radio frequencies. 5.8 gigahertz is video, so that's the video feed from the drone to the operator. 2.4 gigahertz is control, so that's the radio frequency that controls the drone from the operator to the drone. And then the drone typically is broadcasting 1.2 gigahertz of telemetry data, letting you know like what the drone type is, the location of the drone operator, so on and so forth. That's speaking to civilian grade, consumer grade drones and drone equipment, right? Obviously, stuff that the military or government is building can do whatever the hell it wants. A lot of this can be intercepted, right? DJI's information is encrypted, but FPV drones, you can buy handheld video monitors that are for like spectators to watch races from the drone view point of view and stuff like that. So you can keep those on you, and if there's FPV drone inbound, you'll be able to not only know that it's inbound, but see what it sees, ideally. If you are a Jimmy Neutron whiz kid, take this information and run. I know that you can get SDRs, software-defined radio dongles, that like pick up drone data, and you can get software to decode all this information. And so you could be walking around with a tough tablet and a couple SDRs tied to it and some antennas on your back, picking up drone data and letting everybody know like where the drone is, where the drone operator is, all sorts of information to be useful. But don't get too down that rabbit hole if it's not already a specialty of yours, because they're already doing things to counter that. In the Ukraine-Russia war, they're using drones with optical wire so that there's no signal coming to or from the drone. It's an optical wire physically tied from the operator to the drone. They also are doing like Raspberry Pis with rudimentary targeting AI on board, and then wrapping that drone body in tinfoil and stuff to prevent signals from leaving or entering. And that'll stop jamming. Can't be jammed. Can't be the RF signals can't be receive to know it's coming in, and it's just like loitering with whatever set parameters of targeting that's been given on its little onboard Raspberry Pi. So they're already coming up with ways to counter drone jamming and drone RF signal ID. So be aware of that. All right. Shotguns. Shotguns are being used with success in Ukraine. I've heard from multiple sources, as I'm sure you have as well, even seen some videos of it. I think that in America, if we're doing anything domestically, it's going to be very easy to have a 12 gauge in your fire team or in your squad as a primary drone guy, anti-drone guy. I think the chances are you'll probably have more 12 gauges in your squad as offensive weapons than you'd like, and it won't be a problem to try to field enough of them to counter drones. But so I think it is. I ultimately think it is advantageous to have one per squad, or perhaps one per team, that's primarily carrying a shotgun with a little bit of a longer barrel, and his main role is to counter drones if drones are a big issue for you. Another thing that I haven't seen talked about in Ukraine, and I think it's probably more due to funding than anything else, but you see all the videos of the drone coming in, and the guys are like running around something or throwing rocks at it. And it seems so terrible, right? They're trying to do anything they can. I don't blame them. I'd fight to the end as well. But I think if everybody carried a breaching shotgun, right, a little shockwave, no, a 14-inch barrel shotgun with 3 or 4 shots is not going to be ideal. It's not going to be my primary anti-drone weapon. But if my choice is to throw my Kevlar at the drone, or try to use my last 3 or 4 shots of duck load, like number 4 birdshot, steel shot, or something to take the drone down, as it's closing in on me at 30 meters, 20 meters, 10 meters, 5 meters, I think that's a lot more viable. And then if everybody in the entire squad, if you're able to pull that off, had one, perhaps every person in the squad isn't successful, but overall, you're a lot more problematic for a drone team to pick your squad off if everybody is capable of defending themselves with a little shockwave shotgun, right? You're going to be killing a lot more drones than they're going to be killing you. And if you kill all the drones that the drone team has, then you don't have to worry about drones the rest of that operation. You already shot them all out of the sky. So yeah, I'm not a big shotgun guy. I'm not going to go big into this. I don't have a bunch of like choker load information to give you. I'm not a duck hunter or a pheasant hunter or whatever. Lots of dudes are. Hit them up. I will say that you probably want not number 7 or 8 shot. You probably want something heavier. Number 4 is what I've heard from a bunch of people. And you probably don't want 2 and 3/4 inch shells, right? Most shotguns are at least chambered in 3-inch. Some of them are chambered in 3.5. So having the bigger and a magnum load is going to be helpful, right? So if you can have a 3-inch magnum number 4 load with like flight control is what I'm currently buying, right? Because that'll run in almost every shotgun. 3.5-inch loads won't run in every gun. 3-inch loads will run in almost every shotgun. And that gives you more pellets and more powder to try and take that drone out per trigger pull. All right. Some other tools you can use to counter drones as an individual are going to be nets. No, not nets to like catch the drone, but if you can like take like a casting net with you, something I was thinking of offhand, and then you can use that, hang that up so that there's a net draped over entranceway. So if a drone tries to fly in, it'll hit that net, get tangled, get caught in the net, right? So nets to something perhaps a little bit more portable is fishing line. If you guys are bedding down somewhere, bed down up in some brush, the 1 or 2 spots where a drone could maybe fly in, string some fishing line across in a rudimentary grid or just line pattern, and that will greatly increase the chance that the drone's going to crash on the way in to try and fuck with you while you're bedded down in your hide spot. So carrying some fishing line or some fishing nets, casting nets, could be super useful. Blast blankets are used very similarly, or in conjunction with those things, so that the drone hits the net and then any blast is mitigated by a blast blanket. So if you happen to have some blast blankets around, those would be clutch for that as well. Um, I can't, you know, I don't, haven't heard of any time tested tactics as far as team or squad countering drones. So anything that I'm about to say is just me speculating. So take it with a massive grain of salt. But if a drone's inbound, if a drone is inbound and it's an FPV drone, it's going to come fly and like run into you and blow you up. You're going to hear it before it's so close that you're able to shoot it, or possibly even that it's able to see you. If it's a loiter drone or a dropping drone, that's a whole other story, but those seem to be less and less prevalent in today's battlefield as time goes on. So we'll focus on the FPV drone. You should hear the FPV drone coming. When you hear the FPV drone coming, or when your sensors let you know that the FPV drone is inbound, you need to immediately seek cover, right? Being able to hopefully not be seen by the drone should be the primary goal initially, which, as you can see from footage in Ukraine, seems to be the case. You see a lot of guys hunkered down while you hear drones buzzing around and their little signal devices going off, and they're much more concerned about just being unseen than they are attacking the drone. If a drone drops on you or surprises you, then your guys that are carrying your shotguns to be primary anti-drone dudes, those would be the dudes that shoot at the drone while everybody scatters for cover. But ideally, everybody can get in cover before the drone is there. So hopefully once the drone arrives on scene to try and hunt you down, you're in a concealed position. It either can just leave because it doesn't see you, or if it loiters around trying to find you, that's when possibly, depending on how good of a shot and how well equipped they are, your anti-drone dudes that are carrying shotguns primarily can swing out from concealed positions and try and take shots on those drones. When you are trying to find your individual hidey hole to hide in, try to find a hole that hopefully has one primary way of ingress, right? So get in your hole, pull your shockwave out if you have it, and then just sit there and watch the ingress. And if that FPV drone comes, once it's within range of what you've dictated range of your shockwave, probably 20 meters, 30 meters out, just dump the tube on it and hope for the best, right? And if everybody is doing that, then it's going to be pretty difficult for the drone to cause mass casualties on your squad. Maybe he gets one guy that gets unlucky, but he's not going to sit there and ruin your entire squad's day. Boom, shakalaka. That's what I have to say about drones. Good luck fighting Skynet, kids.